The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
So welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals making waves in the industry. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today we have an outstanding guest, Chayah Hodge, who's an associate broker with Leading Edge in Alabama, with nearly 6 years of real estate experience. Today, we're going to be diving into his journey, but also his expertise and discussing an essential topic for any professional, which is conflict resolution. So get ready for an insightful conversation. Welcome to the show, Chayah.
Thanks.
So you have a diverse background, should I say, with experience in both real estate and the automotive industry. So how would you say that your skills that you developed in supply chain management and continuous improvement influenced your approach to real estate?
So from my role in the automotive industry, we were in purchasing, contract development, tool development, things like that, which comes with its own conflicts. But just the being able to work through different problems throughout the buying process or the automotive processes, that's really what prepared me most for getting into real estate, is just working through problems and seeing problems that are going to come up in the future and being prepared for those ahead of time.
And so what inspired you to move into real estate?
So me and my wife, we purchased our first house in 2012. And while the agent was good, we're actually still friends with her. I see her, I've done several transactions with her. And she's actually evolved her business as well. But at the time, it was not the best experience. Yes, everything went well, but we came out of it not really understanding a whole lot of what we just did. As far as paperwork and the process and what was happening behind the scenes, which is for the most part a good thing. But I didn't feel like we got a whole lot of information out of it. We just went through the roles and sign this. Okay, now sign this. Okay, now bring a check. You own a house now. So, and then when we sold that house and bought the next process was just a little bit less lackluster again. The listing of our house, at the time, cell phone pictures were, the norm. There wasn't really photography in the area. There wasn't really drone work in the area. There was, all the pictures looked the same. And so I felt like there could be a better experience for buyers and sellers. So I got my license and decided I wanted to do more, and that's been my goal since day one.
Right. So you saw how maybe some of the things that you could have been done better, and decided that actually with the skills that you bring in to the table, that you could help others in a better way. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I know the topic was conflict resolution, which, nobody wants this, right? So I know that you try to avoid it where possible. So having the skill in this, it really is critical, I suppose, in any field. But can you share a time in your real estate career when you did face a significant conflict, and how did you successfully navigate through it?
So my biggest conflict that I've had in the past is just um, sellers sometimes don't realize how much they have in their house. They have movers lined up, they have friends coming, but maybe they only allow 3 days for that process when really they should have allowed a week. Um, the biggest one I've had is, it came down to 2 or 3 days before closing, and hey, our movers set up. Oh yeah, they'll be there tomorrow. Movers got there, and there's just so much people can do in a day. And so it got to the day of closing. We go there for final walkthrough, and the buyers, they weren't very happy. There were still people there moving and getting things out. So me and the other agent, we worked together, got them cooled down. Okay, it will be done by closing. So I went home, got my trailer, got my truck, went over there, and was helping, as the ladies were putting things in boxes, I was moving boxes and moving bigger stuff onto the trailer, into my truck, into the back seat, into the baby seat, anywhere I could fit something. So we were there all the way up until closing. I left for closing, still with the trailer, went there, did all the paperwork, immediately headed back and got back to it, loading stuff up, trying to beat the buyers back from closing.
My goodness.
And sometimes it just takes going the extra mile for the agent. It's not always legal issues that's the conflict within transactions. Sometimes it's just, human error, and sometimes it takes a human response to fix it. As far as, contract resolution, of course, we always call our on-call attorneys for those questions. Just because, you don't want to bridge that legal wall. You want to stay on your side of it.
Yeah, sure.
But most of the conflicts that I can resolve myself, I do.
And that is when you're actually offering to sort of move them, really, that is certainly going the extra mile. And so, but the end result was that happier buyers. So, and that's going to look good. They're going to know that you did go the extra mile. So that's going to do an awful lot for your reputation too. So in your experience, what are, you've mentioned there sometimes there's contract issues that could be, that need to be obviously resolved, but are there any other sort of common conflicts that can arise in real estate transactions?
Oh, absolutely. There's so many steps within the transaction, and every one of those has its own set of potential problems. Most are going to be home inspection or appraisal, because everyone thinks their house is worth $1 million, just because of that, their emotional response to it. And our biggest job as an agent is mostly being a therapist, and working through breaking that emotional connection and getting them to focus on, the next step. Yes, this was emotional, but the next one, you get to build new, memories. And this next step is, really trying to not push, but ease their mind on that. And there have been times, the emotion takes over, and people, they own the house and they can decide what they want to do. Fortunately, I've never had that happen, but I have been on the other side, the buyer side of the transactions, where the sellers, the day of closing, decided we're not going to sell it, which is just a bad day for everybody. Yeah.
So what strategies do you find most effective in resolving those kind of issues?
Really just managing the emotions from the beginning, setting that expectation from the beginning, and eh, and the emotions start getting high in the home inspection process, because no one likes you coming in saying, here's 52 pages of everything wrong with your great great grandmother's house that you've been coming to for 50 years. No one likes to hear that. And so that immediate response is, how dare they say all these mean things about my house? And so you're starting, what's that, within 10 days of the contract, you're already starting that emotional battle with those sellers. So really setting down with them during your listing presentation and setting that expectation. Okay, this is the steps. Be prepared. Things are going to come in. They are, the inspector's job is to find problems. Our job is to find ways to fix as many problems as will make the buyer and you happy. You don't necessarily have to fix everything, just, wherever we can meet in the middle. Generally that keeps them at least calm. They at least see something coming. And then the next step is that appraisal. Of course, we never, I can give you a market analysis, but that appraiser is going to give you a true market value. And that's just a sore spot for anybody.
Well, there you go. That you said earlier that it's almost like you end up being a therapist as well. So you've just got to keep everything calm and get ahead of the game, I suppose, and just prepare them for it, so that there are as least the amount of surprises as possible. So what sort of advice would you give to new realtors with regards to improving their conflict resolution skills? Are there any resources or practices that you would recommend?
Absolutely. Keep an attorney's phone number handy at all times. Definitely, be friends with the local home inspectors, friends with the appraisers, friends with local attorneys that you can call and ask questions. When an appraisal issue comes up, it's so much easier to just call the appraiser and say, hey, what was the deal on this? What were the comps? And if you can have a friendly conversation versus a accusatory, you did something wrong, because appraisers hate that, and that's only going to make them shut down. Or even, you're friends with another inspector and say, hey, would you care to look at this? Sellers are concerned. Can you come give us a second opinion? Or even, the buyers are really concerned about it, but the sellers don't necessarily have the funds to fix it the way the buyers want. Can you come give us an opinion if this is really going to fall apart today? Or is this potentially we can give money for them to fix it down the road? So it's always good to have a portfolio of people, even other agents, an older agent that's kind of been through the process. Your broker is definitely always should be a good resource. Just
build your connections, build your relationships with other professionals that are involved in the industry, so you've got a bit of a backup. So that's what I'm getting from you. That's what I'm getting from you. So you've been in the industry now 6 years, is that right? So how are things going? I know a lot of people are talking about things have been, a little bit of a struggle recently. What was your sort of production like last year? How many units were sold, or how many transactions did you do?
So last year, I believe I was right around 5 million, something like that. This year I'm on track to be closer to 7 to 8. But interest rates have definitely dropped production significantly. But with rates dropping, and people just kind of climatizing to the inflation, And even some businesses. I've seen several that have given out raises to combat the inflation. Um, so it's kind of starting to even out. Now that school has started, some want to move, some don't, just because they've already went through the whole enrollment process. Um, so I would see business picking up in October around there because they would want to be moved in by the holidays. Once the holidays start, once again, no one's going to want to move. They have decorations out, family coming, things like that. And it'll all restart back in January.
Right.
So but holidays are always.
What's next for Chayah then? What are your goals for the next year?
So next year, my goal is to break the 10 million sales mark. I haven't broken that one yet, but that is my goal. Let's see. Really, my focus this year has been on family. Just personally, kind of took some time away. But now that school has started, we're getting back into the groove of things.
You're ready to go. So you're ready to hit those goals. And do you have a specific plan in place to actually reach those goals?
I do. So every year within our office, we come up with our yearly goal, and actually podcast, YouTube, and then I've started actually going back to just handwritten postcards and more personal direct mail approach versus so much social media.
Right. I'm hearing that a lot, going back to the basics, So we do have just one last fun question. And you mentioned there, so you're thinking about podcasting and YouTube. So obviously, Icons of Real Estate, we are the #1 real estate podcast network, and we're really passionate about making it accessible to all realtors, really. So if you are thinking of having your own podcast, what would you call it?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I had buddies in school that always wanted me to use the phrase, don't dodge it, hodge it. I don't know if I'll throw that into that or not, but we'll see.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, yes, it could be taken a couple of ways there, but yeah, it's a great start. So what should the listeners do next if they're sort of in your area and looking to either buy or sell? What should they do next, and how can they reach you?
Definitely give me a call or shoot me a text, 256-744-6883, or you're welcome to visit my website, leadingedge.com. It's a great resource for looking up local properties, and I'd be happy to help anyone that's looking.
Brilliant. Well, Chayah, thank you so much for your time today. And so to the listeners, if you're in that area, then you know who to get in touch with. And we will be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate podcast. Bye for now.